Hi everyone. So I'm going to go over how to put together the Jekyll and Hyde journal today and how to bind it. Please forgive me if I cough. I'm really sick today, but I'm going to try and get this done for you guys, okay? So bear with me. Alright, so what I've done is I've gone ahead and I've prepared these so that I can show you already, because I can't sort of stop my videos and edit because I'm not good at it. I wanted to prepare everything and make sure it was ready. So all I've done is I've cut up my papers. You can have coffee stain papers if you prefer. They don't have to be the ones that came with the kit, but I wanted some that were lined and that looked aged, that I could print double-sided so that I didn't have to be inking them and all that sort of stuff. So I printed these, folded them in half, and then put a reinforcement strip around them. Then I stitched them on my machine. You see there, because I think that helps reinforce them. And I just trim off these ends. Some people think it helps reinforce when you glue them in, but I don't. So just trim the ends off or leave them on, however you prefer. Now I actually made 12 signatures so that I'd have them throughout my book in between the dividers. I think it's 12, yeah. And so my plan is to have one of these, then a divider, then another one, then a divider, and so on. Now with these, with the ones that have had the dots to cut to make pockets and stuff, I glued them bottom, side, and top so that they don't open up. But with the ones like this one, which didn't have any sort of perforations or cut lines, I glued the side and the bottom only. Oh, yeah. I glued the side and the bottom only and left the top like a little pocket so I can put stuff in there if I want to. You don't have to, it's up to you. And what some people did too is they got these ones and they actually made cuts in them themselves, and that's fine. And likewise, these ones, if they have the perforations and you don't want to cut them, don't cut them. It's really up to you. It's quite versatile. I know that they do have the little dot to cut, but you can always ink over that or cover it with something or whatever if you don't want to actually cut them and make them pockets. Alright, so I actually arranged these in the order that I wanted. Now make sure that when you're putting them together, there's nothing in the way of your binding that's gonna actually get in the way and cause it to get caught up in the binding so that you can't remove it or take it out. Also, when you're gluing these, make sure that if you've got tags in the pockets and stuff, you're not gluing them into the seam as well. Alright, so let's get started. I have also prepared the cover for the book by gluing together the sides. So that's the back, that's the seam, you can probably see the seams there where I've glued it. And also, I got myself some chipboard, and I made it deliberately rough because I wanted it to be rough on the edges because I want it to look very old. And I've made myself a cover. Now the way I did it is I cut 2 chipboard pieces that are 4 3/4 by 8 1/2, and then the spine is 8 1/2 by 1 1/4. All right, and that's what I did. And then I laid them side by side, and I used, what do you guys call this, duct tape? I used duct tape to glue them on, to stick it on the inside with slight separations. You can see the separations there, so that it will close like a book. Now it won't open this way obviously because it's got the edges that won't allow it to do that. But I'm also going to duct tape on this side, making sure not to show at the top, so that when we finish it off it's not going to look tacky. And then basically what we're going to do is we're going to put together all the signatures. We're going to clip them together so that they're firm. We're going to hot glue them. We're going to stick on a piece of fabric over the top of the hot glue before it sets. And this is going to go over the top of that on the inside. This adds reinforcement, this fabric strip, and helps it to stick properly to the covers. And once all this is done, we're going to, starting at the spine first, glue this piece on to cover it. And then we're going to finish it off by gluing these internal pages on the inside to hide everything. I also made myself a little ribbon, you know, the placeholder type ribbon, so that it will have that as well. So let's get started. I arranged these already in the order that I wanted them to be in. So I'm going to put one of these, and so on and so forth, and I'm going to arrange them that way. I've got my hot glue gun heating up at the moment. And I'm actually going to put this element on one of the back covers because that's what I prefer. I prefer to have it there. So, like I said, I already pre-arranged these, so I wouldn't have to be fussing around too much in the video. Alright, now it's quite important that you have paper at the beginning and paper at the end. I'll show you here in a second. These two came out of here. Alright. Did I miss a paper in between one of them? Paper, paper, paper. I did, I missed paper in between this one. Alright. Paper, paper, paper. Okay, it's important that you have a paper signature at the end and a paper signature at the beginning. And the reason for that is we're going to further reinforce this by gluing the first one of these pages to the inside cover before we put the covering pages on. And I'll show you that as soon as I get to that point. I'm going to take this one out because it's going to interfere with my gluing. I'll put it in when I'm finished. I like to organize mine and get them all set up the way I like them, and I don't like to take them apart after that point because I forget where all the pieces go, but on this occasion I'm going to have to. So, get them all lined up nicely. Get them as level as you can. And when you do, get a bigger bulldog clip than that. And hurrah, I think I've only got one of these, so yay, great for me. And then you're going to carefully, so that you don't bend over the edges of your paper, clip that in place.
Merry Christmas, everyone!
Make sure it's nice and level. Alright. It's not level at the back here. There we go.
Hello, Ethan. How are
Okay.
you today?
Now, if you'd like, you can further reinforce this by gluing each signature to each other. In fact, I was going to do that. I think I will. Sorry. I just want to make sure that it is all going to stay together really nicely. So, these marks with the bulldog clips on the front page won't matter because these are the pages that are getting glued to the inside. So I'm using Aleene's Original Tacky Glue. You can use Elmer's, you can use whatever you'd like. I just want the extra assurance that it's all going to glue nicely together and stay together. So I'm going to get myself a little piece of scrap fabric to smooth all my glue out nicely. Do not go over onto the paper. Try and make sure you stay on top of this surface.
A brand new navy blue whistle, Ted.
Make sure everything's nice and level. There we go.
Yellow. Yellow cupcakes for you, Belly.
I'm going to use my silicone mat so nothing sticks to my table. Okay.
Red. Red lollipops.
It's not
Charlie.
It's not essential that you really slather the glue on at this point. This is really just an additional stopgap, safeguard, whatever you like to call it, to make sure that it all stays together nicely, matches up and doesn't come apart.
So nice from you, Ethan. You've given your friends wonderful presents for Christmas.
And I think the string that I've used in the stitching is also going to be an additional reinforcement at this point,
Turquoise.
which is good.
Navy blue. Yellow. Red.
Oh, so I'm sorry, this is actually going to take a lot longer than I was hoping it would with the gluing and everything, but I really want this to
Merry Christmas, everyone.
end up looking really nice.
Hi, Ethan. How are you? Ethan, would you like to learn colors and play football? Great. Let's start then.
Excuse Ethan, the dump truck in the background there, but it's the only way I can keep my little one entertained and happy while I'm trying to do a YouTube video. So go Ethan.
Well done, Ethan.
Okay.
Yellow.
Now, as you're probably aware, make sure that you're gluing it with the strip side facing inwards, of course, on these. So I've actually put strips on most of these with marks so that you know where to score so that the book will open easily. And I scored all of mine so that when I'm turning pages and all that sort of stuff, it's not going to be too stiff, hopefully. Now, I really wanted this to look like an 18th century journal. So that's why I've chosen the binding that I have, and that's why I've done it in this kind of an arrangement, you know. I know they didn't have pockets and pocket pages and stuff, but I wanted it to be as realistic as possible. I can smell my hot glue over there heating up, probably dripping all over the place. It's alright, I put a little dish underneath it so it doesn't damage anything. There we go.
Well done, Ethan.
I'm sorry, I really should have done this in advance and completely forgot. Like I said, I'm not feeling 100%. my little one's been sick as well, and I just desperately needed to get this done so that everyone knows how to put this together. So hopefully, like, honestly, if you're bored, just skip through this part, fast forward it. I'm fine with that. Not a problem at all. I just, like I said, I'm not very good at editing. And I'm trying to make chit chat so that those who are going to persevere and watch all the way through this tedious process of me gluing aren't bored to tears. So, well, hopefully less bored. Let's put it that way. There we go.
Yellow.
Okay. So this is really good, I think. Gluing it like this is just really going to reinforce it. Make sure it all sticks together properly. Creates a nice finish. Just periodically making sure that it's all level and straight. How to put this? There we go. So I don't have to keep shaking it and putting the bottle of glue upside down inside my roll of duct tape. So the other day I was in the car and I was waiting for someone, and I needed to score something. And I didn't have, obviously, my score board or my bone folder or bone whatever you guys called it. I'm really not good with these kinds of terms. So what I did was I used my debit card on the padded center console of the car, and it worked great. Gave me nice crisp lines, folded it perfectly. So all I got to work out now is how to mix grease and dirt to ink my pages, and I will be set. Okay, so one of them has come apart here where I didn't put enough glue. I knew I hadn't put enough glue in that one.
Well done, Ethan. You found lots of eggs today and learned many
So
colors.
there we go.
Would you like to sum up? Yellow.
There we go.
Red. Blue. Pink.
Okay.
Purple. Green. Orange. See you soon.
There we go.
Hi, Ethan. How are you?
Now I wouldn't recommend any kind of like tape glue or anything like that for this part of it. I really recommend either Elmer's or Aleene's or some kind of like white glue like this, because they're gonna glue better and they're gonna be more permanent and more sturdy than tape glues, which I love to use for other things like putting together my ephemera, but not for this part of it. I also don't recommend hot glue for this portion of it, only because the hot glue is going to be bulky and you don't want it bulking up your book any more than necessary. We're already going to have a hard time, I think, fitting all this in that little spine, but hopefully it'll fit just right. I tell you, it's a bit of a thing when you're designing a journal and you haven't yet put together the journal yourself. But you have to design it, and you have to design the cover and the spine and all that sort of stuff, and you have no idea when it's together if it's actually going to be big enough or not big enough. So that's why I always try and put together my stuff, and I have a design team as well that helps me test this stuff so that it's ready for you guys, so that there's as little frustration and difficulty as possible for you. And thank you to my beautiful design team who helped me with all of this. I couldn't do it without you guys. They're a special group of ladies who are very talented. They do beautiful work and quite often put me to shame because they're really so creative. I just design the stuff and whack it together, you know. But a lot of them have some fantastic ideas that I'm like, I never would have thought of that, which is exactly why I've got a design team. To try and show you guys all the different ways it can be done and how versatile these are and how creative you can get with them, because really it's really up to you what you do with them, how you make them, how you put them together. You can put it together exactly like I'm showing you, or you can just do it your own way. Somebody in the design team is actually going to spiral bind theirs. This binding type is just a suggestion. It's just how I wanted to finish my product. It's really entirely up to you how you finish it. You could Coptic stitch this, but no, you couldn't Coptic stitch it, but you could ladder stitch it. Coptic stitch relies on the bends in the page to sew into, and in this case, because we've made the pocket pages, the pocket dividers, you don't have that because it's the loose ends, not the folded ends that are going in towards the spine. But you could do, I think, ladder stitch or one of the other stitch types to stitch it together if you wanted. Or just put holes through this section of the spine and put leather cord through or ribbon and tie it together, whatever you want to do.
Hi, Ethan. How are you?
Yes, we're almost finished gluing, and then we're going to do more gluing.
Would you like to learn numbers?
Anything to make sure it stays together, right? No point putting together a beautiful journal that falls apart. Okay.
Ethan, press the button and see.
And last one. There we go. Okay. There we go. I'm going to take this out too, because I don't want this edge bending. There we go. Alright, perfect. Now, here we go with the bulldog clip again. Get it all nice, get it all tight, and put that clip on. Ideally, you will have a second bulldog clip to do this with. I only have one. I'm gonna try, ow, 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 that hurts. I'm gonna try and use one of these, but I don't like my chances. And if I do get it on, I dare say it'll probably pop straight off. Wish I had another bulldog clip like that. Let's see. having a look to see if I might have another one. Some kind of scrapbooking guard. Just maybe seeing fit to make one appear in my drawer where I know there isn't one. Alas, there isn't. I'm gonna damage this if I keep trying. No, that's not gonna work. Okay, so I'm gonna use one, and I've glued this, so I'm hoping that this is gonna work well. Now I'm gonna go over there. Let me bring you guys with me to where my glue gun is, over here. There we go. And I'm gonna get my fabric strip. This is just a torn up piece of sheeting that I've used for my fabric strip. Okay, now this is a nice hot glue gun. It's a good quality one. I do recommend having a good quality one for this kind of work. Those little cheap Dollar Tree ones are not going to do the job for you in this case if you have them. We're going to liberally put as much glue as we can get away with on here. And then rather immediately, so that it has a chance to bind, I'm going to put this strip on. Okay, there we go. And I'm going to keep going that way. Okay. Oops. You know what I forgot? My little ribbon. Hang on a second. This has to go in just under here. I have to peel this back and put more glue.
Would you like to play with paper planes and learn colors today? Great, let's get started.
There we go. So if you're putting in ribbon, make sure that you put that in before you put this fabric piece in. On. Alright. And I'm gonna keep going here.
Yellow.
Use a nozzle if you need to smooth it out. This gets very hot, it burns. Be sure not to burn yourselves. Like I'm about to, trying to get this piece of plastic or whatever off. Yep. Now everything's sticking to my fingers. There we go. Okay. Pull the strip nice and taut as you pull it along and glue it. Now I'm literally flooding these pages on the spines with this glue. I want to quickly show you how that, can you see that? Okay. And that's what we're doing. And pull that right along. Ouch, that's hot. All right, there we go. Now, squeeze these together and pull the fabric taut. There we go. All right.
Well done, Ethan. You flew paper planes.
There we go.
And also, you learned so many colors.
Now,
Would you like to sum up? Red,
this little piece of fabric at the top here, I'm gonna...
pink, blue, orange.
Okay, can you see this piece of fabric at the bottom here? I'm gonna fold this back,
How are you?
not entirely flush, and I'm gonna glue it to itself
Also play with the ball and learn colors today?
like a little fold over strip.
Great, then let's get started.
And I'm gonna do that
Ethan, can
to
you
create like that little piece of fabric that they put in when they do bookbinding. That makes it look really nice and neat. I'm gonna do that on both ends.
yellow,
Well, I can tell you this. If you choose to bind in this method, you're not going to have any problems with your journal coming apart. I am struggling just to get this fabric to roll over at the top here. I may just trim that.
orange.
Alright, learn from my mistakes. Make sure you fold yours over before you glue it.
Which paint do you want to color your ball now?
I'm just gonna trim mine. Hope it looks neat. There we go. The bottom one does look neat. Where I folded it over. See, it looks pretty. Alright. Now, gonna let that glue. Fortunately, because we're using hot glue, it's not gonna take that long. So let's let that set a little bit, and while we're waiting on that to set, let's go over here to our cover and get this all sorted out. So what I've done is I've deliberately cut this as rough as I can on the edges,
Try again.
and the reason is I have a specific technique in mind for when I put my cover on. You don't have to cut it rough, but what I do recommend is actually either inking the edge or either inking it or using a Sharpie to color it. Hi baby, I'm good. So here we go. I'm gonna get myself my little pencil. I'm gonna get myself my pigment ink. Okay, so I can tell you that Sharpie works better because I used Sharpie earlier, so I'm going to continue using Sharpie. Black Sharpie,
Ethan, would you like to learn?
just wherever the chipboard edges are showing, because I haven't allowed an edge to turn the cover, and the reason I haven't is because what I'm planning on doing is making it look tattered on the edges. If you guys want to, you can make your covers just ever so slightly smaller, so that you can fold over a little piece into the inside, or you can just do what I'm going to do, which is glue it all, then lightly sand the edges to make it flush, to make the paper flush with the edges, and distress it, and then go over it with ink, so that it will have that really tattered old look to it. So see how I'm going with the Sharpie and just covering up those gray areas so that we don't have any gray areas. Don't worry at this point if your Sharpie goes over onto the inside or the outside or whatever, because we're going to be covering both, so it doesn't matter. Alright, so I just got one long edge. I used a fairly thick chipboard for this. You can use a thinner chipboard. I, again, went to the thrift shop, got myself a book, a hardcover book, and I cut the cover off that. And it's actually got the fabric, which I really like. I mean, I guess technically you could, if you were doing it this way, finish the edges off with a really nice black ribbon and actually have your cover be this, and then just decorate the cover as you wish. Nothing at all to stop you doing that. You don't have to use the cover that comes with the book. That's purely your choice. Okay, so I've Sharpied everything, glued everything. I didn't switch off my hot glue gun because we're still going to need that. Now on this side of the book, I think I will use the duct tape again.
Purple. Well done, Ethan. You learned how to use a catapult, and we learned so many colors today.
I like duct tape because it's reinforced with all little strips of plastic in it.
Mom. Yellow. Mom.
And I feel that it's going to be more durable. I don't have the fancy bookbinding tape and stuff. If you do, by all means, please use it. I don't have it. Thank you, Julian. So, I just use what I've got on hand. There we go. So, I have now taped both edges. Make sure that it will still fold, which mine is not currently, because I've put the tape on with it not folded. There we go. There we go. This is just to reinforce it.
Here, Mom.
Leave it, Julian. Please don't touch.
No.
Please don't touch.
No.
Julian, please don't touch.
No.
Alright, now I'm going to trim the excess off the edges. Trim it nice and flush. Can you please go and watch your cartoons?
Sure.
Thank you, Julian.
Sure.
Okay. Oops. There we go. Okay, here we go. All done. If you feel that you need to, you can pop a little bit of hot glue in there, but I'm not going to. I don't want any bulk to build up. And I might just put another strip of duct tape on either side to hold down the edge. Yeah. There we go. Yeah, I think that's gonna do a good job. If it looks like I'm just winging it, it's because I am. Oh, look, I ran out of duct tape. Yay. So I'm gonna lift up an edge of this, cut it in half, slap this on the other side. There we go. Get this piece on the other side. There. Sorry. All right, there we go. So that will hopefully reinforce my spine nicely. And I've got it on the inside as well, and that's good enough. Like I said, if you had some like kind of bookbinding tape that's black or whatever, you could just use that. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna get our fabric, and let's tuck this in so that it doesn't accidentally get glued. There we go. Excuse me. So with the hot glue gun, we're going to run glue all down there and down these two flaps, and we're going to center it in the middle of our spine, and yes, it fits perfectly in that spine. Make sure it's facing the right way. There we go, and it's going to go like that. Do you see that?
A cookie, Mom.
And I'm really happy with that.
And a cookie.
Julian, Mummy's busy right now, okay?
A cookie. A cookie.
I'm going to cut a little strip of this, and I'm going to hot glue it at the top where I didn't get to fold over that bit, in the hopes of creating a nice edge. Yeah, that'll work. But there's a will, there's a way, right? Excuse me for a second, I'm just going to quickly glue that bit.
Purple.
Hopefully you won't have to do this step because you will have folded it properly,
A cookie.
unlike me.
A cookie. A cookie, Mom. A cookie.
Julian, just wait, please.
Okay.
Red.
There we go. Okay. Excuse us. All right, now let's take you back over here.
A cookie, Mom. A cookie. A cookie, Mom.
To our hot glue gun.
A cookie.
Now, make sure this is facing the right way up. Yes, it is. All right, we're gonna slather this side here with glue everywhere.
A cookie. A cookie. That's right. Hi. That's right.
Orange. Purple. Red. Yellow.
Oh,
See, that's
no. Make sure you know got enough glue sticks in there when you get started. There we go.
Great, then let's get started.
All right, so I don't know if you can see that, see? And I'm just gonna pop this, make sure I'm centering it nicely. Yep, centered top and sides.
Cookie. Cookie.
And
Cookie.
pull that fabric strip
Cookie.
down to glue nicely. Julian, wait, please. There we go.
What's that?
Red. All right.
Huh?
That's what I'm talking about.
Here's your camera, remember?
There we go. And so that's all glued in place.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
And you can take your bulldog clips out now. And there's our completed journal. I'm really happy with how that looks. Get my little, there we go, tail in there. All right. Now I'm making sure I don't need any other glue. Nope, it's looking pretty good. It's looking pretty good. So inside here, I'm just gonna bring this over here and show you guys again. Okay, so there it is, all nicely bound. All right. And so inside you're gonna have your 2 fabric strips. It's only gonna fold as far as that. And what you wanna do is you wanna take this first page and using the Aleene's glue, you wanna bend this up. Because remember it's got the reinforcing strip, so you're gonna need to fold it gently.
Thank you. Please. Thank you. Please. Please.
All right. There we go. On both sides you need to do that. See?
So many colors today and shot very well. Would you like this summer?
Okay. You need to bend these down
Yellow,
flat
purple,
so that there's no gap. Don't worry about it looking messy at this point because we're gonna have another piece of paper that's gonna go over the top to cover that. But you're needing to make sure that this paper is folded flat and pulled in
to learn numbers and discover what
as tight as it can be there. There we go.
then let's start. Let's build a stair with all of these hoops around.
And then there we go. Okay. All right, we're going to glue these in place in the book inside the inside cover. Let me just show you. So see here on the corner, I've pushed this as far towards the book as it will go. And this is how it's gonna look. And you're gonna glue down both those pages. I'm gonna use a little bit of hot glue on the inside there. There to glue that flap down. And then I'm going to use Aleene's to glue that to the cover. All right, so bear with me while I quickly do that. There we go. Okay, so I'll glue those strips Now I'm going to liberally apply this all over the inside and glue this down. I'm so excited. We're on the home stretch now.
We've learned so many numbers today. Would you like to sum up? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
I'm going to again use some fabric
9,
to spread the glue nicely. You can use a brush if you prefer.
See you soon, my friends. Hi, Ethan. How are you?
Okay.
Would you like to learn colors and make a giant lollipop today? Great. Then let's get started. Red.
There we go.
Yellow.
Make sure you don't get any air bubbles in it, and be careful where that strip is, because it can be hard to glue that nicely where that strip is of fabric that's reinforcing it on the inside. Don't be too nervous about it being lumpy or not entirely flat, because you still got another sheet of paper to go in there. And I've actually torn a couple of little edges of my paper, no big deal. Because we've got these that are going to go in and cover the entire thing. They may need to be just trimmed slightly. Mine does. Going to take a fraction off on either edge. I prefer to do this by eye, then measure. I find I'm more accurate that way, but you do it however you're most comfortable. There we go. A little bit more. Remember, you can always take more off, but you can't put it back on, so just be careful when you're doing this.
Well done, Ethan. You made a rainbow lollipop, and you learned so many
Tiny bit more on the bottom edge.
Red. Orange. Yellow. Green.
There we go.
Purple.
Yep. A tiny bit more.
See you soon, my friends.
There we go.
Hi, Ethan. How are you today?
Fraction.
Would you like to wash your clothes
Fraction.
today and learn colors with us?
There we go. Alright, now the idea is that you're going to glue this page in as well and go up that edge to make it finish nicely. You don't want to leave that sewn edge like that, so you're going to just go up that. So you're going to glue that in place on both sides. But you're not going to do that yet. You're going to get them ready, but you're not doing it until we do the cover. But as I said, it's not folding over, so it really shouldn't be an issue. Since it's not folding over on the inside, it shouldn't be too big an issue. There we go. I'm just getting my papers ready. I'm going to get my cover ready. And we're going to be done. A little bit more.
Yellow.
Remember, we're going to be lightly sanding the edges if you want. So any little bits of paper that are sticking over the edge, don't worry too much because they're going to get sanded off. There we go. That's it. Okay.
Green.
Now I'm going to give this a good press closed. There we go. That's good. Okay, the paper on the inside is not quite dry yet, but I don't think that's going to matter too much. I think we can go ahead and do the cover now. Now, if you want to try and print this on, you know, that transfer fabric that you can print onto, you go right ahead. I think it would look it would have a really nice finish to it if you did that. I wasn't able to, but I think it would be a really awesome finish. Alright, so see, the cover fits perfectly just by the skin of its teeth. And what the idea is that we're going to glue the spine first.
Purple. Well done, Ethan. You popped all bubbles out. Would you like to sum up? Red. Orange. Yellow. Green. Blue.
Okay, I'm using the fabric to smooth this
My friend.
as much as possible. There we go.
Hi, Ethan. How are you
We're going to
today?
pop this in the middle,
Would you like to learn numbers and eat candies with us?
centering it nicely, and then immediately pull up the sides. Make sure you haven't left yourself short at all. Because this is the time to correct all that. You do not want to leave yourself short. On either side.
Let's eat the red gumballs, Ethan. One,
There we go.
3,
Now that I got it the way I want it,
5.
I'm going to smooth that spine.
Awesome.
Make sure it's smooth and glued nicely.
Now let's eat the blue gumballs, Ethan. 1, 2,
No air bubbles.
4, 5. What gumballs are left?
There we go.
Yellow. And green.
And now we will
What color did you
glue
prefer?
the inside cover, the outside covers.
Yellow. Let's count together, Ethan. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I don't tend to put a whole lot of glue because I just want to,
Wow, this was
I want it to glue properly and I don't want it to take too long. And I find that too much glue can make it look lumpy and not actually bind properly, whereas a little bit of glue can make a lot of difference, make it bind really nicely. So there we go. One side at a time, smoothing it so you get no air bubbles. There we go. Always glue them when they're closed, always. Because if you glue them open, you won't be able to shut them. There we go. And now this side. I'm so excited. I can't believe I'm almost done. There we go. Use my fabric to smooth it nicely, and especially to make sure that the glue is right to the edges. There we go. There we go. Got my ruler here. There we go. All done. Now, as I said, I'm going to trim off the excess off the edges, and then I'm going to give it a light sand. To make it look crooked. Well, not crooked, rough. There we go. Do you see? I'm going for that rough look. And I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna sand it a little bit just to give it that really cool, funky edge. Like it's really been battered and tattered and used. There we go. And obviously I'm not all concerned about uneven edges because I'm going for that rough look anyways. That worn look. And I will go over and ink this as well. There we go. That looks pretty fantastic. There we go. Okay. And so all that's left to do now is glue the inner pages in.
See you soon, my friend.
I'm going to recommend scoring the inside where it bends up
Hello, Ethan.
against the
How are you doing
other
today?
edge.
I see you've brought flares. Are you going to make some fireworks today? Great. Would you like to learn
There
colors
we
with us?
go.
Good. Then let's go.
There we go. All right, so what I've just noticed is that my duct tape, which is silver, is slightly showing, and I don't want that because the paper's not going to cover it. So I'm going to get my craft knife and I'm just going to trim it where I see it and peel it away, because it's not important for it to be in that section. It's just important for it to lend the reinforcement that it has to this point and where it is under the spine.
Yellow.
But because I haven't covered that part, it's still going to show the old cover of the inside of the book. So I may just have to glue a little something in there to make it look pretty or something. Because the cover paper doesn't actually cover that section. I really hadn't thought about that too well. But it's one of those little things that you just sort of work with as you go. Try and make it work. There we go. So that's going to glue in there. The other one's going to glue in there. I think I'm going to be okay with the...
Purple.
The edge. No, I think the edge paper has to. The edge paper's going to show if I do that.
Oh no. Poor Ethan.
I now see why they use one piece of paper and glue it there and there. Sort of like that. Do you know what I mean? You can choose to do that if you like. I'm going to just sort of work around with this and try and make it work for me.
Wonderful, Ethan. You've learned so many colors. Would you like
Actually,
to know how many of them there
it probably
are?
would have been better if I put this in first, but then you'd be covering up the really cool pattern, so I'm not entirely sure how I could have done this. Except to cover the inside cover first and then glue it after, but oh well. How's this gonna look?
Yellow.
Okay, so the problem is this paper, when it folds, is going to create a bit of a ledge. How about I just glue it and then just trim it and make it work? I'm gonna just do that. There we go.
Hi, Ethan. How are you today? Would you like to catch stars and learn to count with us? Great. Then let's go.
Okay. Fabric to smooth it all. Smooth it and make it even.
One,
And make sure you're facing the right way.
two,
Okay. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get a little Stanley knife, my little craft knife, and I'm gonna trim the paper where it meets the end so that it glues down flat. That's what I'm gonna do.
6,
There we go. Put a little bit more glue under that.
7, 8, 9.
There we go.
Oh no! Hey! Never mind, Ethan. You can try again.
There we go.
10.
I'm gonna put my ruler here
You were amazing.
before I close it, in the hopes of creating a nice crease for the inside
Would
page.
you like to count how many stars you caught?
Not bad.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Okay.
6,
Other side.
9, 10. See you soon, my friends. Hello, Ethan. How are you doing today? Would you like to play with your pounding cube and learn colors with us? Great. Then let's go. Blue.
Excuse me. Okay, other piece of paper in. Edges first. There we go.
Purple.
Craft knife trim.
Pink.
And because I'm really pernickety,
Red.
I'm probably gonna get a couple of little pieces of matching paper and just glue the little spine part. Just there. Can you see? Just along there. I will probably glue a couple little strips of paper just to make it all blend nicely.
Orange.
And that's about it.
Yellow.
There Now I'll gently trim the inside edges. There are showing, which really not many. I think I dealt with that pretty well. Okay. And there we go. Your completely completed journal. Jekyll and Hyde journal. Be gentle when you're opening it the first time. You know, just open gently. There we go. And hopefully that is helpful for you guys, and I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it didn't take too long. I hope it wasn't too boring, and I hope there wasn't too many times when that was covering the camera. But I hope you're as pleased with yours as I am with mine. I'm going to go and finish off embellishing it. Like I said, sand the edges lightly and then ink them and give it that really sort of grungy, sort of used look. So it's sort of frayed and stuff. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you enjoy this book. Hope you enjoy making it and using it. Thank you. Bye.